Welcome to the Anyone But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Frankie. I scored over 100 points this week.
Congrats.
And joining me across the internet is Cam. Cam, how's it going?
Oh, Frankie, it's going pretty well. I'm on my bye week this week, so I'm just kind of hanging out, enjoying the time.
Oh, is that how it is? And
That's
I'm on a
how
bye
it
week
is.
too. Guys, I scored over 100 points this week. Very exciting for me because the last time I scored over 100 points in a fantasy week was week 8 of last season. It's almost been a full year, but
my.
it wasn't a full year. Which means I also have either next week or this week or the week after to score within the top 6, or it'll been a full year since I've scored in the top 6. Oh boy. Yeah, thank you all for joining us once again. Another episode. This week we'll be starting off with a waiver discussion. I'm going to talk a little bit about some buy-in controversy that brought to my attention. We'll do our weekly rewinds like always. We may or may not do a names power ranking because I told you guys that we're going to rank them this week, but all the names are not that great. So we'll see when we get there. After that, we'll do our matchup of the week, which will be a three-parter this week, so stay tuned for that. And then we'll have our mailbag. Sound good to you, Cam?
Oh, that sounds great to me.
Alrighty, so we'll start just talking about the waivers that went through this morning. Cam, I shot clock cheesed you so hard. And I'll tell you what happened here. So I acquired Jermaine Kearse for $21 of my fab, which sounds like a lot, and yes, it is. But I had it set at $11 approximately 2 minutes before the waiver is going to go through. I'm just writing up something for this podcast, and I look down at my phone, and it says it's 8:03. I go, oh no. Time to panic. So I was like, oh, what do I do? $11 might not be enough. Bump it up to 21. And just like that, barely got away with it. So take that, Cam.
Oh no, Jermaine Kearse, I wanted him so bad, Frankie.
Well, now I'm going to start him against you, and he's going to go off. So get ready.
I'm terrified.
I mean, not too many big things on the waiver this week. Only other thing I really have to note is that here Justin ended up spending $18 of fab he didn't need to at all. That's kind of unfortunate for him, but not too bad. Other note here is that no one bid on Mr. Two touchdowns. Was it 2 touchdowns or 3? I don't know. There was a lot of touchdowns for Tyrell Williams this week, and no one bid on him, which we'll see if anyone decides to slide him in later in the week. And then the other only note here is, hey, look at this. Dylan spent money. $7 for Doug Martin, $14 for Frank Gore. That was a hotly bid asset. Please start Frank Gore, Dylan. I implore you.
You know all about those amazing Miami running backs, huh, Frankie?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Dylan just wants them old busted running backs for his team now.
It's true. So let's talk a little bit about the buy-in. It came to my attention last night, early this morning, however you want to look at it, that there are some people in this league who are continuing to push back on the $20 buy-in. So far, I've received payments from Cam, Dylan, Jake, and Tyler. I think that's all. So that's 4. I'm 5, nearly half the league already, which is good. But if you're a person who, for some reason, can't pay, or there's some kind of issue here going on, other than just, being annoying, you can come talk to me. It's fine. We can work this thing out. It's not a huge deal. I don't need you guys giving me radio silence for 14 weeks and all of a sudden saying, no, I'm not paying. It's like, we can talk a little bit. Just act like adults. I mean, that's all I'm asking for.
Seems reasonable to me.
All right. Yeah, so I always say, I just wanted to put that out there. If you got anything to say, just say it to me and we'll work it out. Alrighty, so let's get right into our weekly rewind. We will start with our matchup of the week, which was Jake versus Dylan. We thought Jake might have had a chance to end Dylan's winning streak. It was not to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, we were really hoping that Jake Logan could, end Dylan's run of undefeated games, but he choked in the limelight as much as he possibly could, I think, scoring the least amount of points this week. Not going to get it done with that.
No, and yeah, it's rough when when your quarterback doesn't perform. This will be a note that goes throughout the entire podcast. We'll talk about that Texans game and their struggles against the Buffalo defense. But Deshaun Watson was like invisible basically. Another injury, well, I guess a re-aggravation of the knee injury to Cooper Kupp. Gave Jake 1.2 points. That's not going to help against Dylan on the other side, who has Adam Thielen doing nearly 24 points. But the second week in a row with injury to Cooper Kupp. And also in the wide receiver department, this is the second, they had the bye week last week, but the week before that and this week, 2 down weeks for Mike Evans, coinciding with the return of Jameis Winston. I'm a little worried to think that maybe this is not just a couple down weeks, maybe a trend going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, Jameis Winston loves to throw them tight ends, grabs them tight ends and Uber drives too. Maybe not wide receiver kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then looking over on Dylan's side, he basically won off the back of Mahomes, of course. That's to be expected, I think, especially against the average to shaky New England defense. James Conner went off versus Cincy. That was a lot of fun to watch. And then Adam Thielen is like maybe the most valuable, actually definitely the most valuable wide receiver in fantasy, I think, right now. Taking that production away from Stephon Diggs. So a bit of a team kill of sorts there. Let's see.
Yeah, my thoughts on Dylan's team is a while back I made a comment that his team has a lot of solid starters and some good depth, but as the season's progressed, his depth does not look nearly as good anymore. No one on his bench scoring more than 6 points. And if Le'Veon Bell ever does come back and then James Conner can't be there for Dylan as much, his running back core is going to be pretty shaky.
Yeah, especially because Mr. Lead back Chris Carson, like in a game where they like just dominated the ball the entire game against Oakland, let's see, 14 carries for 59 yards. That's just not going to get it done.
No, definitely not.
And then my only other note for Dylan's side, this is another week for Keenan Allen. Puts up good production, but just can't find the end zone in favor of Mr. Tyrell Williams, who took 2 of those end zone targets. So that's something to monitor going forward, because I think we all know that Keenan Allen is uber talented, but his production is going to be limited if he can't find the end zone.
Yeah, Dylan's definitely got to hope that he can manufacture some wins through this bye weeks, because if he can't get a lot more production from his periphery players, he might be struggling a bit.
Moving on, we're going to Levi versus JP. I think this is the closest matchup of the week. Just about 5 points, and this was a thriller. Especially because we were looking forward to see what was going to happen on Monday night. Matt Breida got the points that Levi needed pretty quickly on, but it was a bit of a question if he was even going to play at all, and if not, he was going to throw in Mr. Kyle Juszczyk, who he took from me from waivers last week. But at the moment, before we knew Breida was going to be in, I was glad he took, because I needed him to beat JP so I could stay competitive in my division. But yeah, Matt Breida gets it done for Levi. Especially this is a big win for Levi because it was the bye weeks for the Saints. So he didn't have Mark Ingram or Michael Thomas. So that's huge for him. And let's see. Yeah, this is another week where Fuller is underperforming. We'll get to Kiki later, but he underperformed as well in favor of Hopkins. But he does have that Texans stack, so it's not as big of a deal, but still. And yeah, one other thing to note here is we got Chris Godwin here, who looks to be taking more of the red zone targets from Mike Evans. So that's something else to monitor going forward with that Tampa offense.
Yeah, this was definitely the game of special teams and defense, in my opinion, because both the kickers scored 18 and 22 points, but Levi won off the back of their defense, who scored 22 points to JP's -2. That last minute pick six by the Houston defense was clutch for Levi.
Yeah, very much so. Looking more over to JP's side. Hey, look at that. Right above, Gronk had a good game. 11.2. That's as good as you can. You can definitely expect more from Gronk, but like considering what the tight end landscape is, that's very strong. This is another week where David Johnson kind of gets shut down, but still has reasonable performance. That whole Arizona offense is just so weird. And then my only big note here is, Emmanuel Sanders had a great game, but I don't know. He seems like a very hot and cold player to me. But Edelman, 2 weeks in a row. Last week 9.2, this week 14.1. I feel like, that connection with Brady is always going to be strong, and I think he could be a very valuable asset moving forward for JP.
Yeah, my one biggest concern for JP's team is last Sunday night, the Patriots definitely ran the ball a lot with Sony Michel. And if they keep focusing on just pounding the ball on the ground, it's going to take away some points from JP's Patriot Air offense players, which definitely wouldn't help him get some more wins.
Yeah. Alrighty. Moving on, we have Logan versus Greg. Greg pulling it out. All these guys beating my division mates. Thank you all. So on the Logan side here, this is another week where a start-sit decision costs Logan. I have lost count of how many weeks it's been since we've started counting all these, bad start-sits. But yeah, so if he would have started Collins over Carlos Hyde, he would have won this game. And in previous weeks, I've said like, you can't really blame him. I can kind of see where we're going with. I'm gonna blame him on this one because I don't know. I feel like in a vacuum, the Chargers defense is stronger, especially on the ground, compared to the Tennessee defense. And I guess it is definitely weighted a bit because of the 2 touchdowns for Alex Collins. But yeah, I can't keep giving Logan passes on these start-sit decisions that are costing him weeks.
Yeah, if you can't just start the right guys to get you wins, did you really deserve the win in the first place? I don't think so.
And then my other note here for Logan specifically is I didn't realize that Davante Adams has been having a really solid year so far. Obviously the 30 points is quite a bit more, but 24.5 the week before, 12, 14, 16, 17. I don't know, at least to me, he's gone a bit under the radar as a really valuable player so far.
Yeah, it's definitely helping Logan's wide receiver core because behind Davante Adams, there's Robbie Anderson, Calvin Ridley, who got injured, and then he picked up Albert Wilson. Not a lot of good depth there.
An interesting thing, I was surprised that Logan dropped Vance McDonald. I guess if he's expecting Evan Ingram to play this week, which he could, I'm not excited to play a guy right off of his injury. But yeah, I was looking to see if maybe he picked up a tight end, but he definitely did not. So I guess he's rolling with Ingram this week. We'll see how that works out for him.
He'll need him, that's for sure.
Yeah. Going over to Greg's side, Matty Ice did well for him. So Tyler Boyd and another defense that did really well. 20 points for the Ravens defense, like I was just talking about. And I guess this has been something we're tracking as well as I think most weeks, or at least it's been kind of an ongoing thing that Greg keeps starting the wrong quarterback between Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers, and technically he started the wrong one again, but he won and it was only a point difference. But that's just kind of funny to me.
If both those quarterbacks are scoring almost 30 points each week, there's really no way to go wrong, right?
Yeah. So yeah, one thing I'm looking forward to looking at this week for Greg is if he might want to start Demaryius Thomas for the Thursday night game, especially with he's looking like he's might start Mohamed Sanu instead, but he is dealing with an injury himself, so that might be a sneaky good play against that Arizona defense.
Yeah, I mean, Greg's definitely going to want to start both AJ Green and Tyler Boyd because they're playing Kansas City next week, but that last wide receiver slot's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Alrighty. Moving on, we'll have Tyler versus Lassie. Tyler, who, I mean, I don't think it was that, crazy a prediction, but we definitely talked weeks ago about how Tyler was going to start racking up wins soon. And, 3 in a row for Tyler. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler, once we left the division, he's gone on this hot, undefeated streak. He's now tied for second in the division at 3-3. It's only looking up for him.
Yeah. Couple things from Tyler's side. It's just looking. I mean, we talked a lot about his receiver core and how great that is. Like this kind of week of 123 is like. This is what you can. This is what a team with Antonio Brown and Julio Jones can do.
Mm-hmm.
They can put up these monster weeks, especially if you have supporting roles like James White, who's just been awesome for Tyler this season. Looking at his tight ends as well, like he probably has the best tight end situation in the league, at least as someone who doesn't have Gronk, with Eric Ebron and David Njoku, who are continuing to put up good weeks every single week, getting those touchdowns that they need. So Tyler is looking, week after week, is just looking better and better, in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, Tyler could think about flexing that second tight end in his flex spot because right now it looks like they're scoring more than Willie Snead on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, very much so. And then looking more over to Lassie's side, Saquon Barkley is real good. Did you watch that Thursday night game?
Yeah, I did, as a Buffalo.
Oh, yeah, Buffalo. I'm like, I'm like, Buffalo, what are you talking about? Buffalo Wild Wings.
75-cent wing.
It's been a while since I've been there. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at Lassie's team, and I'm like, man, Saquon Barkley is a league winner if he was on a better team. Sorry, Lassie. And then other notes from his side here is if I had Christian Kirk on my team, I would never really feel secure about starting him, but right now he is the wide receiver 1 on Arizona, and I'm very bitter, but I do think that's a really good asset going forward. Seems to have a really good connection with Josh Rosen. And then my only other note here is that Juice needs to get it going. This is 2.1 points. I know we talked about earlier about the Chargers having a pretty good defense, but Juice needs to get it going if he wants to keep a spot in Lassie's lineup. And he is playing Tampa this week, so I'm looking to see something good from Jarvis Landry going forward.
Yeah, and Josh Gordon, he's been starting to look like one of those main wide receiver threats on that Patriots offense, so he could easily be pushing Jarvis Landry for that starting spot soon.
Yeah, that's true. Alrighty, moving on to my matchup this week. I scored over 100 points, and that's it. Moving on. I think anyone who watched Thursday Night Football and saw him score like 60 or 70 points or whatever just from that game alone knew my week was kind of over at that point. But I held out hope, and I thought it could happen. Obviously, it didn't, but it was closer than you expected. There was checking that little percentage bar thing. There were some points during that Sunday that it was like 50-50, or even I was favored by 5%. And then the Todd Gurley game started, and yeah. But looking at my team really quickly, Devontae Freeman is just placed on IR, which means Tevin Coleman can still be a startable asset for my team, which is very nice. I thought it was a big brain play this week to play Tariq Cohen, and it was, considering he had Jordan Howard on the other side. It could have bit me, but it didn't. Tariq Cohen's 18.6 to Jordan Howard's 3.9. Yikes. And then, Lev Bell still isn't back. Don't know where the hell he is, so that's great. I'm looking over at Devon's real quick. Yeah, I just talked a second ago about Jordan Howard. had the bye week last week, but the week before that and this week, 2 weeks under 4 points. That's rough. Gurley is a league winner on a good team, as opposed to, so like I was saying earlier with Saquon. And yeah, and earlier last week I called the big game for Alshon Jeffrey, which I'm not going to pat myself on the back too much because it was against the Giants, and I'm pretty sure literally everyone could have predicted that. But it came true that he produced, and so did Nelson Aguilar, also produced 3 catches for out of 5 targets, but had his second best game of the season, so I call that producing.
Yeah, definitely. That Eagle stack for Devin
Philly Dilly.
is looking almost as deadly as it was last year. He's got to hope that he can keep that going. But the next couple weeks, the Eagles play Carolina, who has an okay defense, but then Jacksonville, then a bye week in Dallas, who has a pretty good defense this season. He's got to hope that they can keep producing even when the competition is tougher than the Giants were.
Alrighty, moving on to our last matchup of the week, Cam versus Justin. Cam puts up the highest scoring game of the year so far, I believe, eclipsing... Oh, wait, no. The week 4 was still higher. The second highest scoring week so far.
Behind myself.
Very impressive.
Yeah, it was a nice week. What can I say? 34 points from Melvin Gordon, 35 points from Tyreek Hill. Not much you can do against that, Justin. Sorry.
Yeah, it's rough. We talked a little bit last week. I had my doubts about Winston coming back, but I guess you can say they proved me wrong. I know I got to look at that Atlanta defense, but I was, a bit unsure. But most experts leaned with you, and we were very much right. So I could be a very startable quarterback going forward. Very nice for you. And then I know you had your doubts a bit earlier in the season about Trey Burton's production, but 2 weeks ago with 15.6 with the bye week, but then 10.3. It looks like I would say Trey is on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, as long as that Bears offense can keep putting up points, Trey Burton will definitely be a part of that. And I just hope they do.
Yeah, as long as they can produce more points than the Chicago Bears defense gave you this week.
Yeah, against Brock Osweiler. Who could have seen that coming?
I was literally, you have no idea how close I was to starting Brock Osweiler this week when or trying to acquire him right before the week started, because I was like, because of the Thursday night game, I was like, man, I need a miracle to beat Devin. So I was like, I saw the reports that morning. I'm like, what a glory play this would have been if I picked Brock, but it wouldn't have mattered anyways. So.
Oh my.
Manufacturer wins, man. And then looking over to Justin's side, he had a rough start-sit decision with his running backs. Chose incorrectly on both of them. Ultimately, it wouldn't have mattered, so I can't hurt him for that too much. Just looking at Justin's team going forward, I feel like he is in need of Odell producing on a more consistent basis, because this on week off week thing is not working out. I think we'll probably see the same thing at least going into the bye, because this was kind of an off week, and next week he'll be going against this coming week he'll be going against Atlanta, very exploitable secondary, and then back against Washington, one of the better defenses, top third defenses in the league. So we'll have to see it after the bye, but I feel like for Justin to really be a contender moving forward, he needs some consistent production from Odell.
Yeah, or at least get T.Y. back on his starting roster if T.Y. can be as good as we know he can, because that wide receiver group needs some more boom in it.
Yeah, and we just got an update about an hour ago, it looks here, that T.Y. is limited Wednesday practice, which means he could very well play on Sunday, but we'll have to monitor that going forward. Only other big note from Justin's side is 15.9 points for Devin Funchess against the Redskins defense. I'm liking that moving forward, and I might like that to play this week against Philadelphia as well, especially with T.Y.'s injury status being up in the air.
Yeah, he's probably going to have to, but it doesn't look like it's something that you should be really upset about.
Yeah. Alrighty. That was our weekly rewinds. So we were going to do name power rankings, but I mean, looking at them, I like my name personally just because it's fit this whole season. I like Jake's name. Beta because he lost this week. That was funny. Everything else, you kind of been there, done that, I think. Yeah.
JP's name of Taiwan number one. You know, it's pretty funny when he first did it week 1, but give me something new, Jake.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're going to go right into our matchup of the week. It's going to be a 3-part segment for the first time, which will be fun. So we decided that matchup of this week, as opposed to just doing like, who's going to face Dylan or Cam or whatever to see who's going to, take down one of the better teams, we decided we were going to look at the matchup of the week, Greg versus JP. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. We're looking at some bye issues for both teams because on Greg's side, we have both Green Bay and Oakland on bye. So he's losing Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, Ronald Cobb, yada, yada. And then losing Geronimo Allison and Jordy Nelson on JP's side. And then, so I think that's something fun to monitor. And JP has a real chance to win this game. And considering I'm playing against a good team this week, Logan's playing against the team this week, and so is Lassie. Jake has a real opportunity to take control of the Studs and Saunders division if he can pull this one out. But we all know Greg can definitely play spoiler here, although I'm not liking that he's starting Jamal Charles. Yikes.
Greg is currently hoping that he can get Leonard Fournette back. You know, he's sort of been practicing this week. Greg's holding out hope there, definitely. But, I don't know how much I like Greg's chances. He's got to hope that those wide receivers for Cincinnati playing Kansas City on Sunday Night Football can pull off a miracle for him.
Yeah, very much so. And maybe another big game for Matt Ryan in Monday Night Football against those exploitable Giants, too. So, yeah, that's our matchup of the week. That's probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. Oh, and then so last week with Dylan's win, he retained the Try Hard Chalice. However, once again, it is up for grabs.
I have to work harder. I want to excel. I want to be the greatest. So I'll keep on trying until I've got what it takes to do that.
Dylan versus Tyler, another Try Hard Chalice game. We can look over this really quickly.
Yeah, so here they both have their Steelers players on bye. Dylan's missing James Conner. Tyler's missing Antonio Brown. So both these teams aren't currently at full speed. But you never know how that can work, because if Dylan can get those Minnesota wide receivers going off against the Jets, then I'm not sure Tyler has enough firepower to keep up with that.
Yeah, just looking over to Tyler's bench, I'm finding the only wide receiver he has on his bench that he can play. I guess he could sub Willie Snead in up for Antonio Brown, but Antonio Callaway could be a sneaky play against a very exploitable Tampa Bay defense. Might be looking for touchdown upside there, which is kind of probably what he needs to beat Dylan.
But like I said earlier, he could start David Njoku in that spot too, because Tampa Bay has been pretty bad against the tight ends this season.
Well, I'm saying he needs to start 2 wide receivers. So I'm trying to think if he's going to start Willie Snead or Antonio Callaway, and then I can definitely see flexing Njoku in and doing the Ebron Njoku double tight ends this week. Cool. Alrighty, so that's the Try Hard Chalice game for this week. Good luck to both of them, especially Tyler, and actually no good luck to Dylan. But one thing we need to note really quickly about this week is that Cam and I are playing against each other. So this will be the first podcast host championship. Get pumped, because I am. Just because my team is bad and my best player is on bye. I have Tariq Cohen. And Kiki and Tevin Coleman, and we'll figure it out. Andy Dalton versus Kansas City. I'm liking that. Looking over to your side, what are you looking at for your matchup? What are you looking at on your side of the matchup?
I'm looking to see if by Sunday night I feel confident enough that I'm going to win so I can bench Kareem Hunt and flex in Ito Smith just to flex on you. But I guess we'll see in the future.
Yeah, I'm still upset that you outbid me for Ito like 3 weeks ago. But, yeah. We thought Devonta was coming back, but he's already injured again, so whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this could be a rough week for me. I mentioned last week that, so this will be my third week in a row against an alpha. And I thought last week was probably my best shot to steal a win, and it was. But it's not going to happen. We'll see what happens this week. Okay. Were there any other matchups you wanted to look at for this week, Cam?
You know, Justin and Jake Logan is definitely going to have a lot of implications coming up for the future. And Justin is currently favored over Jake Logan, but I don't think he can pull it off. Jake's got my upset of the week.
I'm upset.
Louder!
I'm upset.
Louder!
I'm upset.
Say it louder!
I'm upset.
Justin's favored, even though has Graham. He has Jimmy Graham in his tight end spot, and he's on bye. So that's interesting to note.
Yeah, honestly, there's not a lot of logic going into this one because every other time I've thought about it a lot, and this time I'm just kind of going to go with it because Jake has a lot of bad matchups going on, but I just don't see Justin being able to pull off a very important victory for his team. Currently sitting there at 2-4, and he's got to get some wins to get back in the playoff hunt, and I just don't think he can pull it off.
Yeah, we will see. This is a tough one to predict, I think. But yeah, look forward to all three of these matchups this week. Our matchup of the week, the Try Hard Chalice, yours and my match, and for the upset. Lots of good stuff going on. Alrighty. So let's move on now to talking about your survey from this week.
Yeah, so there are a couple interesting things that came out from the survey, and I'll just kind of touch on all of them. So first off, there was one question that we talked about of who will lose the league, and out of the 10 people that voted, 50% of them voted for you, Frankie, which doesn't look good for your chances.
Yeah. I mean, if Lev Bell comes back, it changes everything. That's just kind of what we're all waiting for.
Yeah, but another interesting note there, I don't know if there's a lot of correlation here, but you also got 6 votes for luckiest team.
Yeah, it's just I understand kind of the logic that people are going for with like, oh, you haven't scored many points, but you've won games. But like, I feel like everyone who says that is like, when I think of luckiest, I'm like looking at like everything. And yes, I've won 2 games, but I could also very easily not win another game the rest of the season. I don't see that as lucky.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just very silly to me.
Yeah, I'm not really understanding the logic behind there. Maybe they just want a reaction out of you for the podcast, so that's why I brought it up. But we'll move on. Lastly, I added a new question this week that I thought would be interesting of who sends the worst trade offers.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 3 people that got, a couple votes, but the most common person that got votes for is Jake Logan. So Jake, maybe think second time before you send those trade offers out again.
Well, I know Jake has said in the past that he only sends bad offers, so that might be a part of it. Who else got votes? I'm curious.
There were 2 votes for Logan Roth and 2 votes for you.
For me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess. Well, really? I wonder who voted for me. I feel like I haven't sent that many bad offers.
Well, I mean, Logan, you can kind of see because he's just always sending some trade offers, so he's just always on people's minds, and that might be true for you too, Frankie.
Maybe. I bet Lassie voted against me. Gonna continue that beef. Alrighty. So that was our little survey, and we're going to talk about now mailbag. And I'll start here. We have one question I'm looking at from Dylan, and Dylan writes in, what's a trade you offered someone that you're glad they didn't accept, or vice versa? For example, before week 1, I offered Logan James Conner and Adam Thielen for Royce Freeman and got told, quote, my starters are off limits. and I would be screwed had he accepted that trade. Yes, you would have, Dylan. That's
Yeah.
I get that you like the University of Oregon, but oh my God.
I mean, I can understand Dylan's logic for this back in the day because we were still thinking that Le'Veon Bell would come play and Adam Thielen wasn't as amazing as he was. And, I mean, Royce Freeman was a second-round pick back at the draft, but, whoa, Nelly, that would have changed the entire landscape of the league.
Yeah, very much so.
So, Frankie, do you have any trade offers like that? Wasn't there a trade a while back before the season started where Dylan offered you James Conner and Jamal Williams for Kenyon Drake?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I regret it, but like,
There's no way you would have
But, like,
taken
I
that
don't know.
back in the day.
yeah, in the moment, it's a hard one because I guess
Yeah.
it's kind of similar to Dylan's because it's like, yeah, I regret it, but like, in the moment, like my side, I felt like made the most sense. But yeah, I guess that one counts for sure. Did you have any that you can think of?
I mean, for me, I had that trade where with Jake Logan, I sent Adrian Peterson and Sterling Shepard for Marquise Goodwin. And, Jimmy G went down, so Marquise Goodwin he's been injured, and this last week was the first week he played, and he actually did really well, scoring 2 long touchdowns, but not sure if I would have done that again with hindsight.
Yeah. All right. Did you have any questions sent to you?
Yeah, from the survey, we had, a few questions. One of them was, can we just ban Levi?
Oh, why we ban Levi?
I don't know. It probably came from the person whose name was Levi is a lie. Not quite sure what that means, but, it's something to think about.
I mean, let's see. I guess it's just a salty JP because he lost. I don't know.
We can never truly know, can we?
Yeah.
Secondly, we have a question of, should division winners be guaranteed a playoff spot since duds and donors divisions suck so bad?
The answer is yes. Otherwise, there's no point of divisions really, besides for just like you play them twice. And it's just like it's like in the NFL. Like I think I like having your division winner gets in automatically because it's like that's how every sport works. I feel like that's how it should work for us too. Did you have a thought on that, Cam?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that they should get a division or a playoff spot, but that division definitely got to step their game up just to get more street cred, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, and for all we know, like, next season or the season after, like, it could be a season-by-season thing of, like, which division is strongest. And it could, maybe the second half of the season, Rodlack takes over, really, with, Dylan and Levi and Justin's teams. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't get on a division for not performing as well, because we're still only 6 weeks into the season, as long as it's felt like so far.
Yeah, the only thing that I think adds any sort of sense to that is just that outside of the division, Studs and Stoners only has 1 win between the 4 teams in these 3 weeks. It's not looking great.
Yeah, I'm playing the Alphas, so I don't know what the rest of them are doing. But
all right, so final question I have here is, why won't Frankie admit he's the worst team in the league?
Because I'm not the worst team in the league. Like, I mean, I'm debatably, I put myself like 11. I put myself like the bottom tier. And I've said many times that tiers are mostly interchangeable. So essentially, I have ranked myself the worst in the league. I still think that like it just takes Le'Veon coming back in full form, and all of a sudden, like I scored 100 and like how many 10 points this week, and like my starting running backs were Tevin Coleman and Bilal Powell. Like, come on, like what do you want from me?
Yep, and that is all of the podcast questions we got. We had survey questions.
Alrighty, so I think we are good to wrap up then, unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
Good to me.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of the 81-Bit Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I have been Frankie.
And I will win this week.
Good luck to everyone on their weekly matchups besides for Cam. Bye!
Bye-bye.